So on Twitter a couple weeks ago, probably more than a couple of weeks ago, I got a tweet asking how one could tell their story about being abused without the risk of people not believing that they've been abused. That's such a tough one to answer. I know from experience that when you tell your story, there's going to be people who believe you and people who don't. I've had strangers that don't believe me, and I've also had close friends or people who I thought were close friends end up not believing, or they maybe have believed it at one point, but then because something else didn't happen after, they started to not believe it. Because there's always that mentality of, well, if you didn't say something about it or if you didn't report it, then it didn't really happen. When you talk about anything that happened to you, whether it's good or bad, there are going to be people that don't believe it. You know, other examples, like if you're disabled, you talk about your disability, but people don't actually believe that you're disabled because you don't look disabled. Or if you've been abused, then people don't believe it because you don't look abused or because you haven't actually done anything about it. You never left, you never tried to fix the situation, or the other person, the person that is your abuser, is more believed because somebody thinks that, oh, well, Steve doesn't look like he's an abuser, he's so nice, or your mother couldn't possibly be the person that's abusing you because she's your mother. Mothers don't do that, and there's, that whole stigma, or I guess, is stigma the right word? Just that thing where people think that mothers are absolutely incapable of abusing people because mothers are seen as this nurturing and caring type of person. To them, it's just absolutely impossible. Obviously, that is false. Honestly, there is really no way to be able to tell your story and not have that risk. I mean, I guess you could, provide proof, take video proof, documents, whatever that's possible, and, show it out to the world or show it to the person that you're talking to. But it always leaves a bad taste in my mouth when people ask for proof or they want to see proof, or I don't like the fact that people feel like they need to present proof, maybe to the police if you file a police report, but you're always gonna find people that you're just always gonna find people that are that kind of person that just won't believe anything that you have to say. And if that happens, my recommendation, my suggestion is going to be that you don't want them involved in your life. If they're an absolute stranger, then that's going to be so easy. If it's on the internet, a simple block is gonna do just well, or a mute button, but me personally, I'm just gonna block them, it's easier. And first of all, try to confide, try to reach to the people who you really know really well, who's like your best friend, your best friend, and get that support system going. Because if you run into somebody that does that kind of thing where they're just like, yeah, you're totally lying, at least you have a support system that's going to back you up, that you can run to and lean on. Because when people don't believe you, that does hurt. That hurts a lot. And what happens is when people don't believe you, is that sometimes it leads to something worse, like death. There are a lot of child deaths, child abuse victims that have died as a result of abuse because when they try to report it, even when people actually see it, but for some reason it's just not registering in their brain, they end up getting killed as a result. But honestly, when it happens, if you can, never stop telling the story, because it's always going to help somebody else who needs that. I know that when you get knocked down over and over and over, it's really hard to talk about it again because it's just like, well, nobody believes me, why bother? But there's always going to be somebody there that will. Whether it's somebody that knows somebody who is being abused, it might help them push themselves to finally help out the person that they know who is being abused. It will help reach the person who is being abused, and hopefully they can also get out if they can, or at least, do something to where it's not so bad, and then when they finally get out, be able to tell their story. Just don't stop talking about it. Whether that be in writing, in a video, just talking to other people, don't stop. I know I repeat that over and over and over, but it's important to say at a time like this, when this is a subject. So hopefully that helps. a little bit. If you haven't, consider being a pledge on Patreon. It really helps, when supporting your favorite content creators' work. You get perks like music playlists, written pieces you won't see anywhere else, and pen pal letters if you go up high enough. And I will see you later. Bye!